I'll start with the DeepDAO screen. I'll introduce myself over that. I'm Eyal. I'm the founder of DeepDAO. Nice to be here. I know you guys for a long time, so it's great to actually speak in your event. A couple of words about myself. I've been in software and product for some 20 years, both in the US and Israel. Worked at Apple for a time and a bunch of other companies. And I was also an activist. And I was part of groups that were that had decentralized ambitions for over a long time, even before the word existed. You know, we were talking about a flat movement. Everybody's voice counts. Everybody's voice is heard. Everybody's vote counts. The idea was to reach decisions with maybe not consensus because it's really hard, but with a shared agreement. And I experienced personally how the group starts with a lot of people, and then gradually it falls into the hands of 2 or 3 people or 4 people, and it becomes centralized. And then the activists leave because they were expecting something else. They were expecting to have their voices heard. And so movements become centralized and die, many of them. And this was very disappointed for me personally. I hated it. And I stopped being an activist. And then I stopped being an activist for a few years. Then in 2017, I came into crypto. And in early 2018, I read some of the DAO platforms' white papers like DAO Stack and Aragon and Colony. And I immediately fell in love. I felt that this is the technology that has a chance to solve the system-wide problem that I was seeing. You know, as part of those groups, I reached myself a position of power a couple of times. And so I knew that everybody's intentions were good and my intentions were good. We all wanted to build a decentralized movement. And we couldn't. So I realized there is a system-wide problem, and that the DAO technology can solve this problem. And so I joined the DAO, the first big DAO that was around, which was Genesis Alpha by DAO Stack, and started hanging out with people. And then after a while, I really wanted to see a DAO explorer to understand who is voting, who is proposing, what are the patterns, who is winning a lot, who is losing a lot, who is voting with whom, because I knew that people in groups vote with their friends or with people who have their interests aligned. So there are coalitions. And I really wanted to see that. So I bugged the team to build it, and the team was busy. So I created a proposal in the DAO and got some play money and started developing it. And for 3 weeks, I created the DeepDAO POC myself. Then the community was excited, and I added more DAO Stack DAOs, and then Moloch DAOs, became DAO House DAOs, and then some Aragons. And here we are 2 years later with as you can see, almost 5,000 organizations on DeepDAO, which to me is still amazing. I'm still amazed at every DAO that we're adding. And should I continue? Just continue on? Okay, I assume that the answer is yes, so I will. So I prepared a few stats for this call. It's very informal. I don't know if it's possible for you guys to ask questions, but if you can, please stop me and ask any questions. A discussion format is great. So if you can see my screen, this is a presentation I actually prepared a few months ago for an event that was called the State of DAOs. And they asked me for several things. For example, to explain what is a DAO. So I'm sure everybody here knows what is a DAO, but basically it's a group of people working together towards a common goal and manage assets together. And at that time, this is six months ago, there were 1 million governance token holders. The number of DAOs on DeepDAO was 150, and all of them together were managing $10 billion. which is a huge number. I still remember a time where DAOs were managing a couple thousands, or maybe 50,000, or less than $1 million. And so these numbers are from September 2021. And let's look at the numbers from now, from today. There's 3.6 million governance token holders over multiple chains. So the number really jumped 3.5x in the past 6 months. And the number of DAOs is 4,833. We're adding more and more all the time. The AUM has gone down. Bear market reached DAOs as well. And if you actually want to compare the number, if you look on DAO, you can see that out of these 7.4 billion, 2 billion are investing contracts. And back in September 2021, we did not even count vesting. So that number would be 5.5. So bear market has really hit DAOs hard. At the top, in December or January, the total AUM was actually about 16 million. And if you would have counted the vesting contracts, it would have been over 20 billion. So a huge amount of money managed by DAOs back then. And again, the number is smaller right now. But the number of active people and governance token holders continues to rise. So there are 673K people, or rather addresses, who voted in a DAO, in any of those almost 5,000 DAOs. There are over 60,000 decisions made on DeepDAO, or rather made in various platforms and collected and aggregated on DeepDAO, and 3.6 million votes. These are amazing numbers to me. I think the promise of DAOs that was just something that we were all hoping will happen in 2018, then 2019, is really happening. And these numbers make it very clear that it does. And just to show you, all these numbers are available on our website, of course. The total treasury size, the voters and proposal makers, and active people. There are 94 organizations, DAOs, with over 1 million, and 53 with over 10 million, and 32 with over 100 million. These are amazing numbers. Very, very impressive to my admiring eyes. And over here on our dashboard, you can see the treasury size for each of these DAOs, and you can roll over and see liquid investing, and you can see the last 24 hours change. I like to, over the past few days, I like to look at, okay, we're in a bear market. Who's rising in a bear market? And you can see some of the people who are actually doing pretty well, even in this climate, over the past 24 hours. Not that few of them, actually. And even some of them, Rarible, for example, Laser DAO, and so on and so forth. And so these are the large ecosystem numbers. And just to talk a little bit about growth. So this is 2018. 2 of the 5,000 DAOs listed on DeepDAO started in 2018. These numbers reflect the first proposal ever made in a DAO. So there are 2 proposals from 2018 on DeepDAO. And 2019, you can see 15x, very impressive. 30 proposals were created, 30 DAOs, 30 new DAOs that created a proposal were added to DeepDAO in 2018. And then if we continue on, 308 in 2020. Again, very nice growth. And then, of course, the explosion in 2021 with over almost 3,500 DAOs added to our dashboard. I don't have the 2022 numbers, but this is continuing to grow. This gap is, I should tip my hat to Snapshot, which came with a brilliant idea of how to actually do governance at a time where gas fees were almost making this impossible. I remember there was a time back in, I think around 2019 or 2020, when it became, it was like $30 to vote in a DAO. And that's really crazy, even for people in crypto in a bull market. So it's now possible to vote in a DAO. And can you guys hear me well? I'm seeing that there's an issue with my connection. Okay, I still see everybody, and I don't know if you can speak, but I'll just continue. So these are some of the growth numbers. And
you sound fine.
Speak, but, I sound fine, great. So this is the growth numbers, and a few more statistics and things that you can find here. So I love to demo governance capabilities over DXDAO, because you can really see it very vividly. So DXDAO, to people who are not familiar with it, is a large DAO. They're managing $64 million even now in a terrible bear market, and they're doing a lot of proposals. There's a lot of activity in this DAO. They have 777 proposals and 522 people with voting power. And if you go to the on the finance, which is really a general, you can see a bunch of information, including the treasury composition. So you can see that a lot of the money here is coming from the project's own token, the DXD. Over almost 60% of the treasury is coming from DXD, and then ETH, and then some stable coins, but really most of it is in the own project token. And here you can actually see all the data that we're using, all the sources of the data. Everything is very, very open. DeepDAO is not open source, but our mission is to show as much data and share as much of the data as we can. So these are the two governance systems that the DAO is using, and these are all the treasuries. And you can see that 4 of them are liquid and 1 of them is vesting, and this is the project token. And over here you can see the top stakeholders based on activity. So these are the people that created the most proposals and voted the most, and similar organizations. So this is traversing the social graph and finding people that mutual members and mutual tokens that are held in the treasury. And you can see some of the other big DAOs are involved here: ENS and Gnosis and Uniswap and Gitcoin, MakerDAO, really the OGs of the ecosystem. And here's something that's really interesting, and you're able to see. Remember, when I started this this journey, I really wanted to see the power dynamics of the DAO. And so this dashboard allows you to see it. And if you sort by share percent, which is voting power, you can see that the top person on this DAO has 7.2% of the voting power. Then it goes down to 5, 4.3, and the number 10 still has 3.2, which is a lot. It's very nice distribution of power. And then it goes down, and the 20th person still has 1.5. Again, this is very equitable if you're thinking about large companies. And then it goes to less and less, and like the bottom 100 is rounded to 0. People still have power. And I really wanted to see what people are doing with this power. So is this person active? And you know, in Moloch DAO, for example, the strongest person for a time, the early stage, was Vitalik, a Vitalik account. But he never voted and never created any proposal in the DAO. So he basically put some money, gained a lot of voting power, but left the community to decide what they want, which is a nice thing to do. And this person, strongest person in the DAO, created 20 proposals, won 90% of them, and 18-2, and voted on 232 proposals, which is a lot. It's almost a third of the proposals in DAO, and winning almost every time, every vote. 230 wins, 2 losses. And then I really wanted to see the coalitions that this person is involved in. And to see that, we're looking at this dashboard, and you can just do a simple copy paste, and you can see these are the top 2 coalitions, coalitions of the top 2 people. And this person is a member of many of the coalitions, which is really not surprising. People vote with their friends. And here you can really see it. And you can see that this person and this person voted together on 113 proposals, which is almost 15% of the proposals they voted together. And then if you look at this person, this is actually the number 2 strongest person. And you can see that these 2 people vote together a lot. And so their combined power is like 12%. That's already a lot of power. And now imagine seeing this in a broader sense in an API, and you can really understand a lot of what's going on in this DAO. And I think I'm coming up on time limit. Should we keep it open for questions, or do you guys want to see some more statistics?
It'd be cool to see a little bit more statistics.
Okay. Okay, so here's our first cut of API. And these are the ecosystem stats. So you can use our API and get a view of everything that is happening in the DAO. All the statistics I just showed you on the site are available in API. And right now it's free. It's not going to stay free for long. And you can see a breakdown of the chains. So the largest number of the total treasury size is the biggest on Ethereum, mainnet, the most votes, token holders. And then the second strongest chain is Solana with $667 million in its treasury. And the third strongest is the Substrate, which we just added a few days ago, like the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem. And they're managing together $434 million in 8 organizations, chains and parachains. And so this is the ecosystem stats. And over here, you can see active proposals. And this is interesting because one of the things people are talking about, everybody that looks at governance for the first time and DAO's the first time, they're like, oh, participation is very low. Only maybe 1% of the people are participating. And this is really, I laugh when I hear that, because compared to what? Compared to the world at large, where people don't vote ever or don't participate in governance ever, compared to democracy, where modern democracies, where people vote once every 4 years or 5 years or 6 years even, in a system like France, presidential elections, for example. So in governance, people are voting every day. And when you look at this API endpoints of active proposals, all the active proposals on DeepDAO, so basically everything that you can see here in our DAO feed is an aggregation of proposals from all these 5,000 organizations. And you can scroll down and really get a picture of what's going on in the DAO ecosystem, in governance, both discussions and proposals. And if you look at this proposal, for example, it's active right now, and it has 4,400 voters. This is an amazing number. It's a huge number. And then if you go to the second proposal, there's 2,321 voters, and 1,700 voters, and 1,500 voters. 1,500 voters. There's a lot of voting activity going on. There's real governance, real community participation. And all of this is available, transparent, and people can see it and understand what's going on. And to me, that's really revolutionizing the way people work and people organize. And this is not a small number of people. This is not small participation. It could be potentially small in percentage, but a lot of people, thousands and thousands of people, are spending the time and putting the effort to understand topics and to develop an opinion about them. This is amazing. And just to look at use cases, so you can find each one of these 5,000 DAOs on DeepDAO. For example, you can find MetaFam, and you can see statistics. That's probably a misspell. So you can find MetaFam in here and 5,000 other organizations, and you can also search by categories. So you can see which categories. DeFi is the largest category by number of people and by total treasury. NFT is the second largest category. NFT is a very, very much a rising use case for DAOs. DAO tools is the third biggest category. It's really interesting that many tools in the ecosystem are being created by DAOs. And you can see that the ecosystem, the DAO ecosystem, is building its own tools. Like, these are the people from the inside, and they're building what they need in order to manage DAOs. And a couple of working collectives and physical assets, which is really interesting. Of course, you know about Constitution DAO, but Moon DAO, I hear it's the same people and others. There's scientists are getting together in DAOs in more and more numbers these days. Gaming, of course, is another use case for DAOs, arts and culture, and VCs, obviously. This is one of the strongest use cases. There's whole platforms for VC DAOs like Tribute and Syndicate.